Hello, R2CON. This is unixfreaxjp. Would like to make a presentation about the shellcode part 1. It's a basic one. This talk is all about first we start with the introductions, and then we will talk about how the shellcode works with the methods and the concepts, shellcode and its analysis methods, analysis technique in Radar, and the concept to defending our boxes with following from the forensic perspective, and IR handling management, closing by the appendix explanations. Well, about me, it's the same, just another security guy. This is another give back and still doing the same stuff. Introducing about this talk and its sequels. I've planned about the series of talk actually starting from 2018, and this is actually the for this year's talk focusing to the shellcode part 1 in this R2CON, and the second part for the advanced one in the R2CON. So what this talk is all about is for the Blue Team or basis sharebacks, and this meant for the non-operational talks for explaining about the basic methods, and then it's strictly about our own research. The background is the shellcode is a sequence of the bytes that represents assembly instructions. That's it, with many counter purpose that and the characteristic that explains here. There are so many of them, but in the most important one is what and why and how we have to analyze the shellcode. There are so many shellcodes, and then its source code is shared in the many repository everywhere in the internet. And the post-exploitation tools are using them, and it's aiming OS and platform architecture from the endpoint servers, like the mainframes, can affect your OS browser and applications. The shellcode checklist goes like this. The purpose is to gain shell as a loader, downloader, further intrusions. Sockets are used a lot to be fileless, and how to collect shellcodes following the post-exploitation tools, self-generated adversaries intelligence, and how to troll them in the internet. Supporting the knowledge for the shellcode analysis, you have to know about the Cs and the operating systems, the uses of the randomized stacks and stack protections. You have to know how to use compiler, linker, disassembly to produce and build yourself to understand it better, and so on. Then what we are trying to do now is how to understand the analysis for the shellcode. First, you have to know how the shellcode is built. Define what operation that you will be performed, code it to the R2 assembly, and then you compile it, grab the opcodes, and then you put in the wrapper and compile it again and ready to use. This is the wrapper that I'm always using for the analysis in the shellcodes. And yes, first is put the code over there. So I name it the shellcode, and then we think about what kind of the operations that we want to put into that code. In this case, I make some simple 30-bit assembly for the executing the exit 1 and exit through the syscall 1. So first is clearing the EX, and then move the AL to bits 1, and then invoking the system call in the interrupt, and done. All we have to do is compiling this to the with the N assemble, and then try to link it with the LD. Oops, I missed the -O, but it's supposed to be it's supposed to be compiled anyway. It's supposed to be linked anyway. So let's see. Yes, it runs. Okay, let's make sure whether the binary is there. Call it to exit. Okay, it is there. This is shellcode actually. The rather go to the right into the EEP to the entry 0, and these are actually the opcodes that parse from the rotary opcodes before. All we have to do is form it to the form of the strings, and then like this with the escape strings, and all we have to do next is copy paste these strings to the template of the wrapper that we made before, like this. Copying, go back there, well, put it the strings over there, and then it will it will check the length and print out the length, and then going to execute the shellcode afterwards. Okay, looks good. So all we have to do now is we have to compile, but beforehand we make sure that the randomize VA space is disabled to make it run and compile it. Compile it is to understand it without using the stack protectors and make sure that it can be exec in the stack. Like this. Oops, there are some warning. No, it doesn't matter. This is warning. It looks good. So it's supposed to be compiled. So this is the oops, missed the one. Pin one, yes, that is it. It is running. So all we have to do is seeing the result in the radar array. Okay, oops, missed the one again. There you go. Then go to the visual mode. Okay, we don't know where the shellcode in this kind of the blobs, right? So we go back to the what we pasted before, and we pick that up, codes again, and we go back to radar interface and search it with /x, going to that opcodes, making beautified like this, and then you will see the hits. Mark it and going there, then go to the visual mode again to make sure that okay, this is the shellcodes there. It is actually being marked with strings of the imported. It's supposed to be so. Let's go to the main function. It's supposed to be there because the symbol is there. Okay, this is the main, and then yes, actually it is detected as an object shellcodes. So as you can see, it's using the std out and seeing the length, and then to print out. Okay, this is the shellcode itself. It's beautifully written. There you go. And let's make sure whether it runs or not. Let's trace it. Okay, execute it. Okay, it's exit with a status 0 in the end. First is checking the memory allocations. Write it the length and measuring the length first. And this is how it goes. So this is actually how the shellcode is made. Now it's about setting the environment. Environment for the operating system for the Linux is quite easy. You have to understand about the syscall, but for the Windows system is quite delicate. You have to understand about the API. So for the this API stuff in the Windows, I'm gonna make some demonstration for it. There is a good tool called R2CON, and this R2CON tool is actually open source and made by the Mr. Steve Hanna, and thank you very much for his good work. And this is the code. It's pretty simple, and all you have to do is compile this code. I'm using the code blocks for this purpose. Yes, like that is supposed to be built. Yep, there is a R2CON.exe there. Okay, there is an exe file of the R2CON. There's headers, MZ is there. Okay, so it is supposed to be executable. Now, how to use it is just aim the library and the function call afterwards, and it will just like that, get processed just like that. It will show you the actually address of a certain calls in the memory. The other tool is a dump-bin. Dump-bin can dump many parts of the binaries from the exports, the locations, import, and etc. Like this. Yep. There is many options for it. You can use it, for example, for the kernel 32 in the Windows. It will show the RV address. It will show also about the hint address and ordinal address as per explained it in here. This address is very important if you want to see and know about the shellcodes, but you have to know also exactly how it is imported address that can be used for the further shellcoding. The radar array is in Windows is a very useful purpose. Okay, the analysis concept, static analysis of the shellcode is dissecting the shellcode without executing it. So it helps, the good binary tools will help you much for the understanding its readings and to understand about how it works, and to guide you many stuff, can emulate to help you analyzing it, and rather is very good tools for it. Challenges obfuscation, packing, and encryption. The analyzing concept for dynamic analysis is same as dynamic malicious binaries analysis, and you have to execute it with debugging or tracing them. And the challenges for this is anti-debugging, VM detection, checking the real-time environment. Okay, so we are now starting to go with the analysis in the route array. Remember, do the stuff that you're good at. So here we go. R2 practical shellcode static analysis is recognizing the wrapper, using the payload, seeking them, dealing with adjustment with cache, and dynamic is constructing the executable on memory analysis, and then recognizing the payload, and then the emulation analysis is for using the ACL and some woo-woo from that is very interesting one. For Windows and Linux shellcode analysis on Rudder, there are some points that I need you to understand beforehand. In Linux, this interfacing with the kernel is very important. You're dealing with a system call. In Windows, there are many stuff that you have to concern, like as per written there. The challenges is for Windows and Linux are written in there also. So let's go to. Okay, we're gonna do some demonstrations, but the analysis of the static. I'm using firstly the simple shellcode analysis that is written in the Rudder book. It is this shellcode. So we are using the same wrapper as I used before, and as per instructed in the book. So let's try to compile it first, simple, without doing anything. So make sure that all of the symbol is there, to make the things a little bit easier for us to analyze this. Then now we start to fire the route array to these binaries, and let's perform the basic analysis. Otherwise, you cannot see the AFL result here. There is a function main. We go there and then try to analyze it first, and then we see there's an object of the shellcode over there in that address. So we just jump to that address and try to print it up. And we'll see two strings here, which is a very bothering. This is actually an opcode. It's really making the reading quite difficult. So I had to ask Pancake about how to get rid of these strings reading. So I got the advice about us using these two commands, and we can try to printing out again. Well, okay, we try to print about the 60s in length, but it looks like the shellcode is a little bit longer, isn't it? So just trying to count the shellcode, make sure the beginning and the ending is correct. But we are, that is a whole like 27, 28, yeah. Then okay, first is jump to this address from the top, and then go back to the second lines with popping the RSI. Then after it being popped, the return address of the RSI. It is mismatch about the ESI there, so it will be set to the next line. So then we are cleaning up the value of the ECX and moving the 27 to as a counter there to the lower bits, and we have the 35 to be put as a subtraction values, and then we have the another subtractions for the looping, I presume, with a value of 1. So this is actually about what it does. Dealing with this in data rate, well, we can simulate this operation with a WO command, but beforehand we have to use this protection first to make sure that the binary is not being rewritten. So with the IO cache, we can activate it, and we just do the WO command. And the WOS is for the subtraction we are using for this purpose. We are subtracting the 35 hex first, and then to the address next to the ESI, and with adding the counter loops. It seems right, so let's see. about the new PD here. So we will see the two, syscall was appearing there. Now it's making much sense of this binary. The first is 0xf is an exit syscall, and one is for the chmod. Chmod 1 is a weird. There is parameters for it, and 1ff is we can ask the router about that and see the octal value is a 777 and chmod 777 for what. We'll see the next arguments by dumping this rest of the binary, and we'll see the etc password is there. This is a very not good kind of the shellcode. Okay, so let's go to the dynamic analysis. We have this talk in the Luxembourg before. There is an injected processes, and then we have to analyze all of the aspects over there, from the memories, from the processes, and from the list of files also to confirm the socket. Then we have to seek the elf and dump it and analyze that process after being that binary after being done, but making sure it's only a looping kind of binary, but it has the shellcode in the memory in the same workspace. So actually it is the shellcode was injected. This one was injected from the another command which was deleted. So this you can see the similar code was there, and then this is actually the injections command that's being used. So this is not in our topic, and you can confirm this in the Luxembourg talk. But in this matter, you can see that it has the two stuff of the shellcode being pushed, being executed. First is the stop. The stop is calling for the two syscalls. The first one is a syscall forking, and the other one is a syskill. The fork is making sure that you're being forked first, and then if you can't, then you'll be ended with a kill, syscall kill. And if things are when as per plan, the socket is started to be called there, and invoking another syscall for the bind, listen, and accept for the communication to the remote addresses. There are two duplicates is being executed there, and then yes, you can see there is a message being pushed in the RVX, and it is piped to the XCCVE, and then it will be exited. It is actually the bind shell. So the next example, the good version of the malware tech is making a good example of the shell code there. So I'm gonna use this for these exercises. Well, you can open that sample and analyze it in the router like this. You'll see the very interesting variable there as a for h, which is using it a lot, and it having a virtual alloc memory copy, which is a very, very intriguing calls for the Windows operations. And there is also the interesting strings there. Yes, let's see about these strings. Is it really a strings, or is it a code here? So I have to be sure about that. But it seems like the rest of the code is operations for the invoking that strings too. I'm not so sure. Let's see. Let's use the magic command to make sure there is no strings being involved in our analysis on results. So it looks like this is a looping command with a roll for being called from here, and this is actually the data that probably the aspects of flag. So it looks like it will be feeding to these roles. Let's confirm it first with our emulation here. I make a simple code by the different machines, And basically it's operating the same for the roll, letting it loop with the same conditions, rolling by the 5. And I just break it to any kind of the codes. I use a print for the syscall there, and dump to the RSI to see the flag is, and this is actually what the result is. So now this is another emulation using the ACL. I'm using the sample of the strings to exe coming from the again the malware site, and you can download it from here. The strings is started as usual command with the radar. It's loading we know it's a exe file, PE files. So if you see the browse the binary, you cannot see strings anywhere. Let's check the functions, and then we'll see there's an entry 0 over there. Let's see where the string is actually started. Okay, try again with the iz command to dump all the strings that possibly parsed. Then you can find it there. You go to the entry 0 and see there is a ASCII being pushed there somewhere, and it is starting from the ESP subtracted by the 28. And then if you scroll down, you will see it will be formed in this address. So all we have to do is using the ASIL. ASIL started from this entry point, and then with EIM and EIP for the start counting, and it is a command that you can use. You can step back, step over, you can step until some address. I will use the EASU for going to this address for the EIPs to extract the strings. Then going to visual mode again, you see the EIP is moving there, so we have to extract like this. Here we are. Okay, in the next part, these are about the concept in defending our boxes. The more you prepare, the better your chance will be. So in this slide is explaining about how important for us to really aware about how the speedy rate for exploit discovery, disclosure, and POC development are used for the latest exploitation related tools. So shellcode is taking a big part of it as a trigger, loader, or stager, and the point is to get the intrusion to the system. So this is you can read about this. The rest is an essay for you as a takeaway, and the next slide is also a thought and an advice. Process injection tools and frameworks that utilize shellcode in its operations is having its shellcode generator built into the tool. These frameworks are rapidly developed so it can follow the recent vulnerable environment and involving its target ranges from endpoints to servers, mobile to IoTs, and so on. It's explained about the EDR2 over there. You can read about that. And this is about the details on how to handle as a digital forensic about the shellcode type of the exploitations. You have to understand about how it is infected you, and then you have to really involve in the research whether we are prepared for this kind of the intrusion or not, and so on. Everything is important, like the logs. So it is having very good advice too. And this is the incident management handling tips for the shellcode related exploitation and intrusion. Basically, it's having a similar handling, but more delicate and more sophisticated for the threat level. So you need to be kind enough and more understanding to the victims, and try to have more communication with them, because they're not understanding what you understand there, and guide them to make sure that they understand what the risks are, and just making into some kind of discussion for anything that can be helpful for the investigations. My playbook for this analyzing the shellcode is for Windows is pretty much known, and more like any kind of malware. But for the Unix-based systems, especially for the servers, do not be afraid to get into the memory analysis. using the very dependable tools for the any kind of the platforms. Rotary is the best tools that I know and that I'm using right now. And use the previous example is very good for you. And the three things that we're good: we can break the codes better, we can communicate with each other, and we can do the great OSINT. Now go to the special case. Case number one is a Magneto. Magneto is a shellcode that is formed to target the specific users in the in using the specific browsers and making a ping back to the specific host, and it is actually having a pre-exploitation stages, but not being explained here. And this Magneto shellcode is the end of the target. Then this is how. Anyway, this is how I analyzed Magneto at the time. I was using Radaray in 2014, and then I posted in the page of the Melons Die, and put those in the put this analysis result in as a comment, then making it as a comment writing there, and then just explain about how it goes and what kind of library it's called. It's using some has to translate the API of the Windows, and then I just calculate the hash, and then find the library and the function that actually being used, and write it as a comment, and then using the PDDA to dump the result to make it easier to read like this. And it will be a very good documentation to look over and over again. I didn't disclose this shit before, just paste in the paste pane since this matter is becoming a public knowledge too now, so this is the way that actually being analyzed. So you can see all of the comment there are related to the opcodes in the left side, and then it's actually explaining in details about the operations of this shellcode is all about. The second one, we're going to the interpreter, but I forgot one thing. But this Magneto, it has two works here. The first is sending the ARP or sending the HTTP packets as a get commands. Second, the Peter bind shellcode in the ITW, spotted in the wild, and is also using the hash table for the translation of the API of the Windows libraries and its functions. And this bind shell is listening to the port number 4444. And it's a kind of usual, but it's very interesting to see that many stuff in this interpreter is actually much matched to the Magneto before. Poison Ivy has two kind of the exploit code. The one is based on the parsploit, and then the second shellcode is will be executed after the payload of the Poison Ivy is installed, and then this is the one of them, and it has many kind of the originality and variations. So I just pick up one as a screenshot, and write about the API functions used in the text below the screenshots. So it's a really difficult to analyze this post exploitation unless the status is still online, and then you can seeing it in the real time. The references, first is the resources for the shellcode. There are Venom, ExploitDB, and Packet Storms. And the second reference is a shellcode wrapper scheme that I'm using. You can use it for yourself too. I just marked the wrapper parts, and these are the interesting shellcode analysis, and then the reference that you can have. And again, thank you for having me. Thank you for Pancakes and R2CON cool stuff, and rather development folks. And see you in the next part of the talk in the R2CON, we're gonna be talking more advanced over there. Thank you again.